what did you think of these videos? What was your takes?
Oh, this one, Sublation Media.
Yeah, I mean this. Yeah, well, or Varn. Maybe let me play this one a bit because
Mhm.
this one I think is a very good.
Yeah,
It's
play
just
first. A lot
says,
of people
what do you
always
want to say?
ask us to play the videos first. So maybe in
Yeah, to
season
play,
two, that
play.
can be one
That's
of the things that we'll try to follow, but
yeah.
can't make any
Let's chit
promises.
chat about personal stuff, more actual content.
Quick
So how you
announcement,
doing,
we
Cam?
made a
How's your?
new channel dedicated to fruits and nuts that we don't even know the names, where we just spend 20 minutes kind of guessing the name of the fruit. Not, we're not even
It
like
was very
have special
exciting.
knowledge.
It was very exciting game. Okay. Anyways, let's not get distracted with fruits and nuts again. 6:30. I'm gonna play it at least till minute 30 seconds.
And exit polls, you see that
Oh, sorry. This is one
there
like
is a
solo materialism because it's a podcast too, so we have to keep it in mind. For listeners, materialism, working class, and other words many of you render meaningless, which I love the
I
title of
swear.
this video. Yeah, it's the best. Many of you render me. It's just, and it's, by the way, I take full responsibility.
For
I've
sure.
used
Same.
class as irresponsibly as anybody. And in this one, Derick Varn explains his views of how some words need specific definitions.
interesting and weird sleight of hand in the Democratic electoral base. Since the 1930s, people in the lower income brackets have voted for Democrats. Since probably the 1970s, different sectors of the rich have voted for Democrats. If you are on the East and West Coast and make more than $500,000 a year, you are 60% more likely to be a Democrat than a Republican. But in general, if you are well off, you're more likely to be a Republican. That also is because we're dealing with different scales of numbers. And admittedly, I know a lot of people take advantage of the fact that it's very hard to understand scales of numbers. For example, the DSA is a mass organization. Well, according to its official numbers, it has about 62,000 members, and that's mostly paper members, but whatever. Those are real members in good standing. But remember that you're in a country of 350 million when you talk about the DSA. Now, yes, most left-wing sectarian groups traditionally don't get past 5,000, and that's been a kind of hard set number since the 1950s. Don't know why. I don't have a good reason for why that is the case, but it is the case.
5,000.
So we play sleight of hand on things like working class, our materialism. All right. And a lot of times we use some of the stuff to distract from other questions like, what are we supposed to do now that the Democrats seemingly have defeated part of Trumpism, although Trump is not going away anytime soon? I mean, that's already happened, right? And there is a perverse incentive structure for media and also Democrats to keep you concerned about Trump, since, frankly, even the exit polls back this up, negative partisanship specifically against Trump is mostly what they are using to keep you loyal as a voting bloc if you vote for Democrats. This is a trick, right? We project things onto other things. The working class right now is a political football because people realize the social inequity, both in terms of income and in terms of production and power. All right, and they are related, but not the same thing. Is really weighing down on all parts of society, and who they think the enemies are and why they think they are the way they are and who they even is does vary depending on where in the country you are, what the dominant industries are in that area, what racial and gender demographic you're talking about, etc., etc.
I mean, could it be said any better that who they who they are is defined so much by the context, especially like
For sure.
yeah. I think I really suggest everybody listen to first 10 minutes. He explains how lack of having a specific concrete definition of working class or class, whatever, or any word, leads to confusion and leads to basically, as he calls it, a sleight of hand tricks.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, in the
yeah.
next video, there's going if once we play around the 20th and 21st minute of the next video, it's a clear, I think, a crystal clear example of like, you know, people just using words such as class, bourgeoisie, PMC, and stuff to just mean whatever they want. I'm not necessarily correct or not correct, but the definition is so different than the person that they're talking to in front of them that, you know, you have to highlight that there's a
I mean,
complete
this was
understanding.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. But going back to Varn's video very quickly, I mean, he does two great things and maybe more that I don't understand, but he makes 2 points. One of his points is all about, you know, working class and all the bourgeoisie and all this. We just have different understandings and completely different meanings for them, and we need to discuss that. And the second one is also how delusional we can be on the left. I mean, his point on the DSA was one of those, right? He's like, yeah, okay, DSA is nice. It has 60,000 members. We're in the United States of America.
A country of, yeah,
you know, and they're like the biggest one. You know, DSA are actually like a player. They have, you know,
I mean, the most famous one, at least.
They have, and they win decent sized elections, right? I mean, they win local elections. In New York,
I don't know.
It's
I
not
really
bad. At least they
in
win
New
some.
York, this is getting really.
No, I mean, we really know
he
one
did win an
person who
election
won.
once.
Okay, that girl won. Okay, I can show you a picture of her. What was her name?
This is like becoming like the UFC world champions type thing. It's like everybody's won. Sure, yeah, yeah. The fact that he talks with numbers and just briefly like, man, I mean, a couple of people were kind enough to comment that our channel is underrated, but fucking hell, like his videos, each video is like a university level lecture at best university ever for free, and it's 3,300 subscribers. This is criminal. I mean, whatever. I mean, and he's like everything.
Like
it's
he
him,
said,
you know.
this is a
it's
small
not.
world.
There's no producer.
Yeah, but like he also pointed out himself, this is a small world. You know, there are only so many leftist viewers and all this.
No, even in that small world,
he should have had
like
30, 40,000. Yeah.
I think so. He's anyway, but great video. Check this out. I think this is like amazing, really useful video for people. Just because, forget about working class, forget about class. Like, it's a trick people play all the time. They use words in sales, in advertisement.
No,
you know, I mean, I use it sometimes, like,
and
when
it
I
really
want to get out of
happens with the biggest words, and they do, like he said, they do become
democracy,
meaningless, like
tyranny.
Democracy, exactly, authoritarian, you know, or like fascism,
dictator.
and on the left, class, working class, these ones are added to it, where
and again,
in the next video,
I don't want to be I don't want to be, as they call them in Persian, mola logati, as in, like, you know, oh, you semantic words. What do you mean? Colloquially, okay, sometimes you're having a discussion, chatting, sometimes then you're talking academically, and in this case they seem to be talking like philosophers and academic, although actually Frawley does say that she's a sociologist and she doesn't like how philosophers just talk about these weird concepts, but this I'm not so sure.
One more thing I wanted to say before we move here. Varn also makes some funny points about, like, you know, again, about the left being delusional of how, you know, what they've achieved and all this. And then he says, you know, nobody talks about, like, the heartland America and the middle and that big part, what's going on. You know, you shouldn't have to move to, like, one of the richest places in America, like Seattle, in order to have, like, you know, a socialist party that wins. That kind of shows exactly, like, you know, these things often do well in richer places, contrary to what we claim to think, that, oh, like, if only in working class people were exposed to socialism and all this, they would for sure vote for it. And
there is a huge amount of romanticization, and this is, by the way, a reaction. It's kind of like, you know, This is my view. There is a lot of action, female action movie oriented. There is a lot of movies oriented around this female action hero or a group of action heroes, right? It's a big thing on Netflix. Some of them are amazingly good. I really like some of them, like Kate. Very good movie. Woody Harrelson is in it, and I forget the name of the female lead. So this is my sexism, I guess. Some of them are awful. Some of them are really bad, boring, forgettable. But this is a reaction to the perceived or real lack of female-led action movies in the past. And I feel like there's an extreme amount of romanticization, especially in the Europe and America, of the working class, as a reaction to an extreme, perhaps, romanticization that existed of the elite, of the
100%.
educated, of the thing. And hopefully the next generation, I'm hoping, will balance it out. And I feel like this fits in with my theory of like European and American or Western, whatever we want to call it, culture, reaching the same maturity as perhaps Chinese and Middle Eastern or other, like as in maturity. Not, by the way, I'm not talking about normal, I'm just talking about the media producing class, really, which is not necessarily representative of everybody. Not at all. So I hope nobody misinterprets that. I think more people are mature in China than they are in America, or it's just very specific group of people. So, but what did you think overall? Did you like the video? What did you think of? So, Stefan Bertrand's article is prompted by this advertisement in UK that said that, okay, your parents could have get a good mortgage to buy a house. You can get a vegan avocado toast or something. And then he said and then he was prompted to write this article that what has the bourgeoisie done for us recently. There's a bit of a sort of reference to the Monty Python. They mentioned the aqueducts. I told you about the Monty Python joke in which the Jewish resistance groups are like, what have the Romans ever done for us? Well, they built the roads. Well, besides the roads, well, they got rid of all the thieves. Well, okay, they provided security. The aqueducts that they built. Okay, besides all of that. So, so then they're talking about the bourgeoisie, and he's talking about how come the bourgeoisie are so depraved, as they put it, or how come they're so ineffective these days. And by the way, somebody I liked it in my own account, so I don't know if I can see it here, but somebody put, by the way, bourgeoisie are not the only people who are depraved, which I thought was the perfect answer. Oh, here. It's not only the rich that are getting more depraved. That was it. So another like from our account, I guess. But I want to, before I want to play something from minute 20 while maybe you give your views. I'll just go there.
Yeah, no, let's actually exactly play as soon as you have that ready. But yeah, it was fun to listen to. They're all very enjoyable people. And they're, of course, very educated.
Oh, Douglas Lane, man.
Yeah, and
but isn't Douglas Lane perfect at pointing out, like, just where in your argument is a bit loose? He just targets that.
Exactly.
It's very
good. Let's actually watch that now that you mentioned that.
They did something useful in that they were operating.
I just wanted to go a bit before minute 20.
And centralization made it a lot easier to expropriate all of this from capitalists as well. But the important thing is that early capitalists, as owner-operators, had a dual role. They did something useful in that they were operating something to a certain extent, and they were also money capitalists. But with the development of the stock market and the transformation of profit into interest, it becomes very clear a transition happens both in the world and empirically. It becomes obvious to everyone that all the capitalist claims like, oh, do I not do something? Do I not perform an important managing function? Are lies, because they can just sit there and just totally passively extract and just leech out of this system. It makes it very obvious that this is a social system of production from which they have a completely passive role in simply leaching out, removing from the system, removing individually from a social process. Marx doesn't say removing individually from a social process, but this long ago, in the transition from like owner operators to just pure money capitalists, it was obvious that the capitalists performed no useful social function. But I suppose I can kind of understand what you mean in the sense of like the necessity of capitalists to kind of oppress the working class and to have some agency in that. And I guess what you're saying is even the bot will kind of even take that over and sort of push the capitalists out of that role of in class struggle. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're definitely right. That kind of in like a real functional role, the bourgeoisie has already been replaced in lots of ways and has probably been for a while. But I guess the kind of point of the piece, because it then relates back to kind of the worry about communistic nihilism, is that the kind of last illusions will be taken away by AI development. The last illusions will be taken away from the bourgeoisie in terms of, you say that it's obvious that the bourgeoisie doesn't do this work, but I don't think it's obvious to the bourgeoisie. And maybe this is kind of
they will always try to justify it. You know, they'll say, do I not work? Do I not do this and that? But of course, like they can just sit back and do nothing. They can work if they want to, but they don't have to. But at least, you know, the fact that they could and had that option where we don't made it obvious that they were not contributing to the labor process in the way that workers were.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, aren't you really talking about the PMC and not the bourgeoisie?
I don't think so, because I mean, I don't know. I'm a real believer in. I believe in a very broad idea of the proletariat.
Oh, do you?
So you think do you think the management class, the managerial class that actually has been in charge of creating efficiency and therefore disciplining the proletariat, are workers?
What kind of class are we talking about? I think for me, it has to become very senior to kind of step outside of the working class. And then also, I mean, it depends on kind of like, if, you know, there's obviously some people who are very senior, but live in a country where capitalism is undeveloped, so that they couldn't actually live without the necessity of labor. And so maybe it's not actually to do with the function they actually perform.
Like if you hire an efficiency expert
This
in
part is
the
amazing, people.
1960s to come into your factory and you know, not only create new rules and guidelines for the workers, but perhaps help you to introduce new machines into the process. Is that an efficiency expert bourgeois, or is that efficiency expert proletariat, or is that efficiency expert part of the managerial class that uses expertise to in scientific
get the dog, maybe the dog
truly in charge of the direction that
I am.
capital develops.
Look at the cute dog.
For me, that person is well, it depends how much kind of.
Oh,
I think
it
for me, it
depends.
depends kind of what their relationship to capital is. Otherwise, apart from that job, like if that person kind of does that job in the sense that any of us do any other job, in the sense that they have to do that or they wouldn't be able to make their mortgage, and that person certainly is a worker for me.
You know, even rich people have to work. Like I don't know where that came from. Like, you know, like, the point is that they make, you know, too much money based on what they do or something like that. If not, besides aristocrats, everybody else kind of has to work. Even people who come out from like a well-off family. Like, you know, they would also need to work. So, but one thing, if RBN heard that definition of class that the people included, they would burn down their city, like immediately.
Revolutionary blackout would have, they would have attacked everything and everyone. What did this cracker say? Anyways, no, before getting into the whole class thing, I just wanted to say that if I were an academic or a media, as in if I were actually making my money through my media appearances, which happen to be exclusively on my own channel for now. So if I were making money, if I were an academic at a prestigious university, perhaps a Swansea University, I wouldn't say, you know, I wouldn't say they're leeching off of us. And I wouldn't say, because they can afford to not work and we can. Like, you are as far away from work, if you do media or academic work, as like that's it. You're the furthest from actual
Not
work
according to
that you are.
Stefan's, not according to Stefan's formula. You bring in a variable. That will
Listen to
look.
this.
They were not contributing to the labor process in the way that workers were.
They look.
But of course, like they can just sit back and do nothing. They can work if they want to, but they don't have to. But at least, the fact that they could and
Man, that's the definition.
Do you remember what did Warren say about they? This is a very key word. This is something that the whole fucking Hegelian philosophy is based on, the mixing anyway. My point is that
even people who work on
sorry.
Wall Street have to work, right? Like even if those guys get fired, they will also not have their mortgage or anything. So this definition that she's giving, like, oh, people who don't have to work, that's like, some
they are now
and
that's
these
the
kind
thing,
of
man.
people.
To be charitable to them, after Stefan, let's go to the class thing. So after Doug Lane kind of calls them out for the lack of who the fuck are you talking about? Basically, this is getting really
By the
wishy-washy.
way, I forgot to mention, according to him, I'm super working class, according to him, because I'm nowhere near executive. I mean, did you hear his definition? Of course I am. How am I not?
I mean, he didn't give a definition. That's the thing.
No,
they don't give a definition.
No, he does. Then when he asks them, he's like, no.
Should I play again?
Yeah, go back at 2145. He says anybody who's not in senior executive positions is working class.
Okay.
The PMC and not the bourgeoisie.
I don't think so, because I mean, I don't know. I'm a real believer in. I believe in a very broad idea of the proletariat.
So you think do you think the management class, the managerial class, that
no, I know what you're saying, but then
now there's 5 seconds left.
No,
taking away the evidence from our viewers.
Oh, is it? Should I play?
He literally says it in 5 seconds after this.
Has been in charge.
Yeah, play.
Of creating efficiency and therefore disciplining the proletariat. Are workers?
What kind of class are we talking about? I think for me, you have to become very, very senior to kind of step outside of the working class. And then also, I mean, it depends on kind of like,
okay, pause.
If there's obviously some people.
Okay, I was right,
Stan.
Very... As you can see, it says it depends. If he doesn't give a specific definition, that's the thing.
He gave a bit though, yeah. And then
I asked you.
Yeah, then he goes on to say, so he would probably say that I'm not because of my parents. But I met the first half of his criteria for being working class, who said you have to be senior.
That's my point, though.
Actually, at Spar and Brawl, we're co-owners, so I take that back. I'm actually CEO.